In 1955, the deliberate destruction of United Airlines Flight 629 took a young individual bearing hate against his mother left the country in shock. Departing from Stapleton Airport in Denver, Colorado at 6:52 p.m. on November 1st, 1955, United Airlines Flight 629, a DC-6B aircraft carrying 44 individuals, was en route to Portland, Oregon. Just 11 minutes into the flight, the aircraft met a tragic end, crashing into a sugar beet farm near Longmont, Colorado, instantly killing all 39 passengers, which included a baby and 5 crew members on board. Among those lost in the tragedy was the spouse of a staffer for President Eisenhower. John Gilbert Graham struggled to maintain his composure upon learning that a plane had crashed shortly after departing from Denver's Stapleton Airfield on the evening of November 2nd, 1955. Without needing to be informed, Graham was already aware that the aircraft was United Airlines Flight 629, headed for Anchorage, and that his mother, Daisy King, was aboard the ill-fated DC-9. His prior knowledge stemmed from his own actions. He had deliberately packed his mother's suitcase with 25 sticks of dynamite, setting the explosives to go off 20 minutes post-takeoff. The destruction of United 629, which resulted in the deaths of all 44 passengers and crew members, was observed by local farm families near Longmont. They were alarmed by a loud explosion and the subsequent shower of burning wreckage. Upon reaching the crash site to aid in the search for survivors, they were confronted with the horrifying aftermath of Graham's actions. Unbeknownst to them, the cause of the explosion was an attempt by a desperate criminal to claim life insurance money, making him Colorado's most notorious mass murderer to date. The comprehensive investigation into the tragic downing of the airliner not only sought to understand the circumstances leading to the catastrophe, but also aimed to meticulously compile detailed backgrounds on each of the 44 victims. This endeavor extended to examining potential motives for targeting any of the passengers and scrutinizing those who had reservations but canceled or did not board the flight. In the aftermath of the tragic airline disaster, investigators undertook a thorough examination of the passengers' luggage. This meticulous inquiry was not merely an effort to return personal belongings, but served as a crucial role in the investigation. By piecing together the probable contents and characteristics of the luggage, authorities aimed to connect the recovered items to their rightful owners. This process was vital for several reasons. Firstly, it helped to identify the victims through their possessions, offering some semblance of closure to grieving families. Secondly, and perhaps more significantly from an investigative standpoint, it proved a means to trace the origins of the explosion by examining the condition of the luggage, including signs of severe damage or the presence of unusual residues. Investigators could begin to piece together a narrative of what occurred. The goal was to discern whether the explosion was the result or a tragic accident, or, as feared, a deliberate act. The investigation revealed poignant details about the lives disrupted by the tragedy. Among the items retrieved were those belonging to Daisy E. King, a passenger whose life and untimely death became a focal point of the inquiry. The personal effects found amidst the wreckage offered a window into her existence and the relationships she held dear. These included personal letters that no doubt contained words of love, concern, and everyday musings, newspaper clippings that chronicled the achievements and perhaps the misfortunes of her family, and a personalized checkbook that spoke to her financial dealings and independence. Additionally, traveler's checks amounting to $1,000 suggested plans for future endeavors, an address list indicative to a network of friends and acquaintances, and keys to safety deposit boxes hinting at valuables or secrets kept secure. Notably, one of the newspaper clippings unearthed in the investigation provided a critical piece of information regarding her son, Jack Gilbert Graham. It revealed his troubled past, including charges of forgery and his notoriety on a local most wanted list. This piece of evidence was instrumental, casting a shadow of suspicion over Graham and suggesting a possible motive behind the disaster. It was a turning point in the investigation, transforming it from a quest to understanding a tragic accident into a manhunt for a suspect in what was quickly becoming a clear case of criminal sabotage. The investigators' approach, combining attention to detail with a broader understanding of the implications of each piece of evidence, exemplified the meticulous nature of forensic inquiry. Each recovered item, every scrap of paper, and every personal artifact was not just a piece of evidence, but a story piece. Together, they formed a mosaic of lives interrupted and a crime that shocked the nation. The personal effects of Daisy E. King, in particular, became more than mere objects. They were the keys that unlocked the mystery of the catastrophe, leading investigators down a path that would ultimately reveal a chilling tale of betrayal and premeditated murder. The investigation into the tragic airline disaster revealed intricate details about the passengers, particularly focusing on Daisy E. King and her relationship with her son, Jack Graham, which unearthed potential motives and backgrounds that painted a complex picture of familial discord and financial entanglements. The recovery of Daisy King's personal effects near her remains suggested she was carrying them in her handbag, not in checked luggage, underscoring the personal significance of these items. Despite comprehensive searches, most of her luggage and its contents were never found, with only fragments of suitcases presumed to be hers being recovered. This detail highlighted the challenge investigators faced in piecing together the events leading to the explosion. The investigation extended to examining insurance policies held by the passengers, which revealed significant coverage amounts. Notably, policies on Daisy King's life were discovered during a search of Jack Graham's residence, including a duplicate travel insurance policy worth $37,500 hidden in a cedar chest, and 2 additional policies, each valued at $6,250, naming her daughter and sister as beneficiaries. This discovery suggested a financial motive, as Jack Graham stood to inherit a substantial sum upon his mother's death. The relationship between Jack Graham and his mother was characterized by frequent arguments and conflicts, extending beyond familial disputes to include professional disagreements over the operation of a drive-in restaurant owned by Daisy King. The restaurant had experienced an explosion, and Jack was suspected of embezzling funds, further complicating their relationship. Jack's past also included risky behavior and financial troubles, such as leaving a truck on a railroad tracks to be hit by a train and securing a $1,000 note against the restaurant's equipment. Jack Graham's criminal history revealed a pattern of illegal activities dating back to March 1951, including check fraud, theft, and a jail sentence in Texas for transporting whiskey illegally. Despite these offenses, he received a suspended sentence and probation for forgery, contingent upon making restitution payments. Jack's background was marked by inconsistencies and turmoil. He had a troubled service record in the U.S. Coast Guard, including a significant AWOL period, but was honorably discharged. Despite dropping out of high school, he was admitted to Denver University, indicating a complex individual with a blend of intelligence and recklessness. In his initial interview with authorities, Jack Graham provided an account of his life, detailing his family's history and his relationship with his mother. This background, including Daisy King's ownership of a house in Florida and her purchase of a residence for Jack in Denver, painted a picture of a family with complex dynamics and financial interdependencies. The investigation into the airline disaster thus unraveled a narrative of familial strife, financial motives, and a son's troubled past, all of which contributed to understanding the potential motives behind the tragic event. This detailed examination of the passengers' backgrounds, particularly that of Daisy King, offered insights into the personal and financial connections that might have led to one of the most shocking crimes of the time. The investigation into the tragic airline crash that killed Daisy E. King and others meticulously unraveled a web of deceit and premeditation, leading to the arrest of Jack Graham. Central to the inquiry were efforts to piece together the contents and ownership of luggage recovered from the crash site, with a particular focus on identifying items belonging to Daisy King. This process revealed personal effects that offered insights into her life and relationships, including a discovery of significant insurance policies, naming Jack as the beneficiary, which illuminated a potential financial motive for the crime. Jack Graham's management of a drive-in restaurant, an enterprise fraught with financial difficulties and suspicious incidents, including vandalism and an explosion attributed to a disconnected gas line, painted a picture of a man struggling with personal and professional turmoil. Additionally, his ownership of a Chevrolet pickup destroyed in an accident on a railroad track and his vague knowledge of his mother's travel plans and luggage contents further complicated the narrative. Gloria A. Graham, Jack's wife, provided a personal perspective on Daisy King's habits and the dynamics within her household, including Daisy's frequent travels and her meticulous approach to packing. Gloria's account of Jack presenting a gift to his mother on the day of her departure, a tool set intended for crafting, added a layer of complexity to Jack's relationship with his mother, despite his claim of ignorance about the contents of her luggage. Further investigations and interviews with relatives and acquaintances shed light on Jack's actions before and after the crash, revealing his intense interest in acquiring a toolkit as a Christmas gift for his mother and his subsequent distress following the crash news. These revelations prompted a more in-depth examination by the FBI, leading to a search of the Graham residence where incriminating evidence, including a roll of copper wire and hidden insurance policies, was discovered. Confronted with the evidence and inconsistencies in his and his wife's accounts, Jack Graham was identified as a suspect. His eventual confession to constructing a time bomb with dynamite, electric primer caps, a timer, and a battery marked a turning point in the case, leading to his formal charge with sabotage and later murder. The investigation's thoroughness extended to tracing the origins of the bomb components, revealing Graham's purchases of a timing device and dynamite, which were directly linked to him through store employees' testimonies. A salesman for a Denver electric wholesale house testified that he had sold Graham a 60-minute timer during the later part of October, that Graham had represented himself as an employee of Colorado, Texas Pump Company in order to purchase the timer. A credit manager from Denver, Colorado, Chevrolet Company testified that Graham had been unable to pay a $50 deductible item on an insurance loss on his 1955 Chevrolet pickup truck, which they had repaired as a result of an accident. Graham had told the manager that his bank account was held jointly with his mother and was all tied up. Graham had then commented on how easy it would be to blow up an airplane. He had estimated that it would take about 2 gallons of nitroglycerin. He had observed the manner in which luggage was handled at Stapleton Airport, he said, and it would be easy for someone to place a bomb on an airplane. The prosecution rested its case on the afternoon of the 15th day of the trial. Approximately 80 different witnesses had testified and had introduced 174 exhibits during the course of the proceedings. The defense rested its case after having called 8 defense witnesses. During the course of the prosecution testimony, Graham had made statements to the press saying that when he took the stand, he would refute their testimony, tell the truth, and clear himself. However, he refused to testify at all in his own behalf, and none of the 8 witnesses called on could offer any evidence rebutting the testimony and evidence that Graham had placed a dynamite bomb in his mother's luggage. On May 5th, 1956, after being out of the courtroom for deliberation for 69 minutes, the jury found Graham guilty of murder in the first degree and recommended the penalty of death. 2 of Graham's attorneys filed a motion for a new trial. On May 15, 1956, the judge denied the motion. At this time, Graham took the stand and said that he did not wish for a new trial, nor did he want his case reviewed by the Supreme Court. His attorneys had filed this motion without his permission or consent. The judge sentenced Graham to be put to death during the week of August 26, 1956. The day, the hour, and the minute to be selected by the warden of the Colorado State Penitentiary, Canyon City, Colorado. The Colorado Supreme Court stayed the execution of Graham on August 8, 1956, after 2 of his attorneys filed a formal record of appeal against his wishes. On October 22, 1956, the Colorado Supreme Court confirmed the lower court decision and set the execution for the week of January 12, 1957. Graham was executed in the gas chamber at the Colorado State Penitentiary on Friday, January 11, 1957, and was pronounced dead at 8:08 p.m. If you made it to the end of this video, please don't forget to subscribe and like because that helps on pushing this video further. Thank you for watching and see you next time.